So today we got pretty big news coming from Canon. We don't know the pricing about this. We don't know the availability or the official announcement, but I recently covered kind of leak specs, a little bit of what they're going to talk about with the R5, which would be their 5D like DSLR line, but mirrorless form, the R5, and their R6, which would be like the 6D series, obviously, in their new mirrorless R type build. And in a past video, I covered more about the R6, but they announced some official specs for the R5, and the R5 was always going to be a little bit more video focused with high megapixels. We just didn't know. Now we know a whole hell of a lot. And if Sony's listening, they're 3 years behind right now, but the A7S III has to come because Canon, hit a lot of video specs in this one. Some you wouldn't even think is imaginable. This isn't on the photo side of things, except maybe resolution, but this is video heavy. And once again, that's, I think, is the point of the R5. And that's Canon going, Sony, we're going to finally do something against you. And they did. So the Canon came out with their 8K and 4K resolution video specs, and they're actually phenomenal on paper. I want to see how it's going to be implemented, but here we go right here. You'll have in their new R5, you'll have 8K RAW internal up to 30 frames per second. Usually expected. It's going to be, I'll cover how tough this is and why this is demanding. It's not just numbers thrown in there. There's a lot that goes into being able to shoot 4K, resolve 4K, everything, process it, and everything. So we'll have 8K RAW, internal up to 30 frames per second, which is big too, because you don't need everything external to do it. So they're saying everything in 8K and 4K can be done internally as well. That is huge. 8K internal up to 30 frames per second, 422, their C-Log, Canon log, more of their flat profile. Then they'll have 4K internal up to 120 frames per second, 10-bit C-Log as well. Hope that would be 12-bit. But then 4K external, you could do up to 60 frames per second, which should pretty much suffice everything there as well. And they confirmed two big things that a lot of people worried about. And something I mentioned, there's going to be no crop on any of their 8K and 4K modes. That is huge because Canon has been known to severely crop like 2 times as they went into 4K with some of their more recent cameras over the years. So to not crop at all is a big deal. So I want to see if there's a caveat to that. The other thing, and Canon has been guilty of this before as well, they haven't included dual pixel autofocusing in 4K. Both 8K and 4K modes in this R5 will have dual pixel autofocusing, and that's going to put Canon back to the top almost. Man, that's big news, and to have that in there, that's why I like shooting with Canon stuff for videos. I love the dual pixel autofocus. It's fast, it's snappy, it's consistent, it's very good, and that's huge. You also have C-Log in both 8K, 4K modes. You're actually going to get 5-axis in-body stabilization as well. Man, this thing seems like it can handle a lot. Dual card slots, one CF Express, because you really need a lot of speed. You need to be able to write this 8K, 4K, whatever it's going to be. And then one SD UHS 2 slot. So that's a lot of the info, but the actual 8K, 4K, so that's the specs, but let's have the discussion part. So once again, what's the catch? What's it going to be here? Is it going to overheat? What's it going to be? Is the price going to be the catch? Because this isn't going to be a $3,000 camera. It's not going to be a $4,000 camera. It's going to have to reside somewhere between $5,000 to $6,000, maybe even get up to $6,500, because this is impressive, pretty much groundbreaking video specs. And that would really put Canon back up the innovative map here with something like this, because if you actually look at real world professional video cameras like Reds and going up there, things that can shoot 8K, which isn't a lot necessarily, there aren't a lot of options, you're looking at $30,000 to $50,000, if not higher, cameras. So that's going to be impressive to see what the price is going to be. And the resolution has to be there as well. And it's been rumored that this might be 40 to 60 megapixels, on their full frame sensor. And you have to look at it too. People will be like, no, maybe, it could just be 24. You have to understand how resolution works and how many megapixels you can work with it. Like, for example, if you want to shoot 4K, you only need around 8.5 megapixels. You don't need something massive. But for 8K, you jump up significantly. You need about 33.2 megapixels, so over 33 megapixels to be able to do 8K video. So you see a quality difference there. And then that's when I say 8K would definitely matter. But in all hindsight, does 8K matter for the YouTube and all this stuff game? No, absolutely not. But if you're doing professional stuff and you really want that crop action to get all that extra detail, your 8K, even scaled to 4K, looks fantastic. And even if you go to 1080, whew. But once again, the 8K is very, very extreme still for 2020, but still innovative. And that will put the R5 or the 5D series back on the map on a high level for Canon. And really the big thing about 8K is being able to house it. You need usually larger cameras, but they're going to pack this 8K resolution into their normal R-size camera. And you just don't think of that. You think you would need their C300, 500, 700 line to be able to do that. So I'd be very interested to see how that goes. And then they need some newer processor as well, because you have to have an extremely fast processor to implement all that data and to come up with it. So I expect this to be a behemoth in the R5. Last but not leastly, the storage for 8K is actually massive, obviously. Even 4K is pretty big for what it is. But on standard, once again, it all depends if you're shooting RAW, log, however you're using it. About 40 minutes could take up to 1.5 to 2 terabytes of storage space. So be prepared to spend that much and to get way fast cards and to load up on that CF Express. So I want to know your thoughts down below. The R5, if you're into video and you're above like the YouTube and vlog stuff, is very, very impressive. I freelance in video too. You know, I still do a lot of stuff on the side like that. That's very innovative and groundbreaking, especially fitting it into a DSLR mirrorless size camera like that. I'm very interested to see what actually happens there. But what are your thoughts? And it just tells me that Canon finally maybe figured something out, and they're like, Sony, look at us now. But Sony, this camera is the big takeoff. You really need the A7S III. But once again, it's going to be a price market at that point, and then what can be done and not overheat and not crop. Let me know your thoughts down below. Is the R5 impressive? How about, do you think you need 8K in 2020? But Canon, whew,